Alright, Turner, so here's what we have for kind of your two face-on views, two very different clubs, two different times as well. Obviously the video on the left is back in December, video on the right just earlier in the week or last week whenever we recorded that hybrid. As you can see, set up a little bit different, a little more tilt, your head's a little bit further back, both good things to encourage the club on the downswing to come a little bit more from the inside. We haven't done a ton with your backswing, so we're not going to see any huge differences here. We'll swing the club back to the top in the first one. And now swing it back to the top, kind of in this one here. If we just kind of take a look at how our body's pivoted, on the right here, I think you've turned into your hip a little bit more. You're a little coiled more forward. You're a little coiled better, turned over your right leg, where in this swing we see almost reverse pivot slightly, where you're starting to lean towards the target. Not something we necessarily talked about, but again, I just think improving your path on the downswing has essentially put you in then a more confident downswing position or backswing position where you feel like you can go at it a little harder. You're not steering the golf ball as much. So if we just draw a line kind of straight up from the golf ball, that's pretty close. We see, it kind of bisects your head there. Where if we do the same thing in this video or in this picture and it's not perfect, but you're a little bit more behind it, and even though this line's a quarter of an inch off on the golf ball, even if I had the line right in here, you'd be more behind it. We see less of your right shoulder essentially through that line or in front of that line, so you've turned behind the golf ball a little bit better. And again, most of that is just you're delivering on a better path. You're not worried so much slicing it. So that setup position, kind of prepared you to make that in my opinion better looking backswing. One thing we could do, we've mentioned a little bit before, is if we take a look at your glove here. We take a look at your glove here, and it's actually closer probably. It might be just a different camera angle, but again, we can see that whole logo on the glove. If we could hide that just a little bit, so get that left hand flattened a little bit, and maybe get the glove. It's not going to go towards the wall, but leaning a little bit more in that direction, kind of like we see here. I think we'd be way further ahead doing that in terms of squaring the club face consistently. If we look at it on the downswing, again from here we want to see that logo on the glove to start essentially first turning away from your chest or towards the ground, so starting to hide that Nike sign a little bit. You'll notice what we see here is it actually your wrist cups a little bit, and even at this position we can still see that full Nike sign. There's no hint that those knuckles or the logo on your glove have really started to turn towards the ground. In this swing we're going to see something fairly similar, not a huge difference. As we look here, from here definitely by this time we have to get the club face to start squaring, to start swiveling that full left arm to roll, so the club face can turn towards the ground. We look at the left, again from here we definitely want to see the logo of the glove to start going towards the target line, and that way at impact we'd see a little bit more of your left thumb. We'd see a little bit of less logo on the glove. And this longer club, we're actually not going to see much of a difference. From here, again, we want the knuckles to go down. We want the logo to start to turn towards, because the last few, 18 inches of the club face just doesn't move in anybody's golf swing. So here, again, we'd like to see everything turn kind of this way further. We'd like to see the thumb on the side of the club. And by impact, not see a whole lot of that logo on the glove. So your left forearm, your left wrist is just rotated a little bit further towards the target by that point. But again, you're like we saw in the backswing, your head's in a much better position here. You've maintained some of this tilt. Part of it again is because it's a longer club, but your head's just behind the golf ball. Most good players, you're going to see their head behind the golf ball like this, and you're just in a kind of a more athletic looking position. As we continue to swing forward, we'll see, you know, the left elbow bends a little bit and the left wrist cups a little bit. Still essentially from this view, logo of the glove, if we look, is still pointing basically up towards the sky. Ideally, we'd have the logo rotated towards the netting over here, and from this view, we'd be looking at basically the palm of your left hand again. So that's just a little bit more rotation. The left wrist bows and rotates. In this video here, I mean, it's maybe a little more rotated, not a ton, a little less bending of the left arm. One thing that I think you've done very well is your chest is rotated a little bit better, your hips have rotated a little bit more. Again, you're maintaining some of this bend, which you see most good golfers do. They're not standing, you know, almost straight up like we see here. So that's just your body pivoting a little better, working better for sure. But again, with this left hand, we want to see the logo of the glove, rather than pointing up in this direction, we want to see it pointing over towards the fence, and then your palm would essentially be facing this, or, you know, another way to say it is the face of your watch would be going over towards the netting there. But again, you're more behind the ball, you've rotated a little bit more aggressively, posted up very nicely on your left leg. You know, a lot of good things that are happening that we haven't even, you know, necessarily addressed initially. As we swing forward, then again, we've talked about this in your finish, the club's pointing, you know, definitely way left of your target. And if we swivel the arm a little bit better, it'll be pointing to, you know, at or to the right. And here we see the club swivels some, and we can't exactly see where it's pointing, but I'd be willing to guess that this is definitely not at the target, but less left, I guess would be a decent way to say it. Your right arm, because you've rotated the clubs a little bit straighter, a little bit fuller release, and some of that comes from the club again. And again, you can just see that you went after it more aggressively, maintain some of your bend again. You're all the way on your outside left heel, which is good. We see from most good players. So, you know, kind of a lot of good things going on with how your body's working in terms of rotating aggressively, going after the golf ball. If we can get the left arm to start doing that a little bit more, again, we'll eliminate that shot to the right kind of once and for all.